Hello, my name is Extabu, and this is Unity of Command 2 Astrakhan mission on hard. 3, 2, 1. Oh my god. Astrakhan is easily the most annoying, the most toughest, the most hardest, and the most everything mission of the Stalingrad DLC, and easily one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult mission of Unity of Command 2. It's easily up there with File Brown, for example, and yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and it's tough in general. It's not an easy mission, and on top of all of that, if you play the alternative history scenarios, it's very likely that your core force will be severely beat up by this point, especially on the harder levels. My force was extremely weak. As you can see, I've got these pathetic 3-step tank divisions. I have, like, this part, I've managed to, scrounge up a bunch of reinforcements. We haven't seen yet the Kotelnikovo area where, absolutely. I've seen the single version of this, the single scenario version of this scenario, and it was much easier, and you had actually decent forces around Kotelnikovo. And in my playthrough, all of those divisions were beat up. All of the infantry divisions were 3-step. There was a 3-step tank division, 1-step motorized division. Yes, you can exploit the fact that if you lose a division completely, it gets reinforced, reformed. Oh, here's Kotelnikovo, by the way. And by the way, this is one thing you should do. Push Kotelnikovo. These people, you're not going to see them again. They need to die. I mean, they don't need to die, but this Kotelnikovo salient, absolutely unnecessary. And that little attack is not going anywhere. This purpose is to distract the numerous Soviet tank divisions in the Abganerovo area, so that your troops, your motorized divisions that push around the Malaya Derbetsy and Abganerovo area, they actually have, don't have to fight all these tanks. So that little breakthrough will distract. Oh, by the way, here's me losing AHQ. I made a bunch of mistakes, actually, in this playthrough. It's not my best initial playthrough. It is a successful playthrough, but I've made a bunch of mistakes, and one of them, losing my HQ. My 17th Army HQ, which is not great. You can actually, lose your 1st Army, Italian, obviously, Army HQs, but the 17th need to advance forward, and it needs to be within the range of Astrakhan by turn 8, so that you can actually do sword crossings into the town on turn 8. So I managed to do it, but it was really annoying, and it cost me a bunch of restarts. And no, it didn't. I did not restart it, actually. I reverted to my saves, and I was too lazy to reset everything, because I made other mistakes. So in Serafimowicz, you need to break through at Serafimowicz. Please don't waste your flying artillery cars on Frolovo. Try to do it with planes, with just normal air support. But in Frolovo is takeable on turn 1 easily, and it will also disrupt any Soviet counterattacks in the Frolovo-Serafimowicz area. So it's a good idea to blow that bridge west of Frolovo, so that's more difficult for the Soviets to actually bring in any kinds of motorized, mechanized units into the area once again. Screw with your life. And here's me just trying to distract the Soviets, prevent them from consolidating their defenses around Abganerovo, and for the most part, they failed to do that. The AI is very good at kind of bringing its units. And by the way, I missed that rear guard. I didn't know about it. I wish I did. But this is what needs to happen in this desert area next to Astrakhan and Lister. So block that supply hub. It's critical for you to get resupplied with it. Plus, even with a level 5 supply hub in a Lister, and this is the closest you can get, that little town with the enemy supply hub is actually the limit of where that supply hub, the maximum radius at which that supply hub can actually provide supplies. So it's a very good place for your 1st Army HQ. And yeah, you pretty much in that area you will have to kind of do this. You push forward, and then like keep within the range of your HQ. And if you push further away, you retreat, get emergency supply, maybe oversupply. Even though my first army did not have the oversupply ability, that was an incredibly bad mistake in my part, and somehow didn't need it prior to this mission. And in Astrakhan, it would have been very handy, especially early in the mission. But unfortunately, I simply didn't have the ability, and I didn't have the prestige to do it, really. So even though it's really like, please buy oversupply for all of your German HQs. Like I don't think the ally HQs actually have. And by the way, here's me destroying the bridge next to Katilnikovo. That's let's say it absolutely not necessary. And here's me plopping the little HQ that got destroyed. And so, absolutely get oversupply to all of your German HQs, especially since, unlike Barbarossa, Stalingrad, it doesn't really clearly delineate. Oh, by the way, another of my mistakes. I lost one of my cavalry divisions. Please don't lose your cavalry divisions in the east. These divisions, because they're so fast, they're much more likely to get to Astrakhan on turn 7, right? So please keep them out of trouble. Don't do what I did. Oh, it wasn't like I lose one of my cavalry division. I lose the German actually cavalry division. The Romanian will survive, and the Romanian division will actually take Astrakhan. And so they are fast, and being infantry, they are still eligible for use with assault crossing. So, like, your infantry will be too slow. In most cases, like, I'm almost certainly will be too slow to get to Astrakhan because of the Soviet defensive lines. The cavalry will be able to get around those defensive lines as you clear them, right? And on turn 7, you need to get that cavalry next to Astrakhan and clear the railway so that the HQ can actually has a connection with those cavalry divisions, and then push towards Astrakhan. That's how you need to do it. That's how you do Astrakhan on time. And I will lose. I think I know I lose that German cavalry division, and I had to scrape by with the Romanian one. And so here's me taking up Ganerovo. So 1, 2. So I do a flying artillery. This is where you should use one of your flying artilleries. I had a flying artillery card. I used it. And you get one in Frolova as well. You need for flying artillery. Absolutely need a flying artillery in Astrakhan. Potentially, maybe not, because you can actually blow... No, I think Astrakhan has its own supply hub, supply source, so you can't actually cut it off. So you kind of need it. You kind of need the... the flying artillery in Astrakhan, otherwise it's just not going to happen. And so here's me just taking that supply hub. This really needs to be cleared. And you already can see how my cavalry division got destroyed. So just the enemy cavalry will come up and destroy it, like, because that's completely suppressed. And at this point in the west, you really need to be careful about how far you push. As you can see, there are plenty of Soviet mechanized units in there, and they are very powerful, and they will not wait to kill you. Like, the AI is very good at ganging up on your best units if it can. And by the way, here's my crossing at Lovlia. Yeah, just push directly along the railway, because this is the closest thing to Dubovka. I'd say Dubovka is probably the most difficult objective in this mission. I found it to be kind of like Dubovka, and maybe like making the crossing the Volga right after Dubovka. I think it's the most annoying part of this mission, like the most difficult, the toughest. Abganerovo, if you know what you're doing, is not tough. I'd say it's kind of it's very doable, but like Dubovka can, because it's very difficult to reach. With Astrakhan, you gradually push along the railway line, and you just, like, it's very easy to destroy these very static. And here's my case in point. This is my cavalry division dying. or virtually dying. So you gradually push through those static defensive lines along the railway line. But by the time you need to take Astrakhan, you can actually establish decent supply, right, in the Astrakhan area. With Dubovka, there's no, you can't do it. It's just no way. You're not clearing any railways. All of the railways there lead to Stalingrad. You're not taking Stalingrad. Certainly not on hard. Maybe on the easy, I don't know. And so this is just not going to happen. So the supply situation is going to be horrifyingly bad around Dubovka. Also, my 6th Army, HQ, which otherwise actually is pretty well leveled up. So you can actually level up is very easily in a bunch of level it up very easily in a bunch of missions. Fall Blau 1 definitely one of them, because the 6th Army doesn't get too many troops, and the amount of experience you need to get depends on how many troops you have in the mission, or that HQ has in the mission, and you actually, that HQ can, the troops of that HQ can actually get a lot of kills of highly suppressed enemies. So you can actually, at some points in Fall Blau 1, you encircle a big chunk of the Soviet troops in the area, and you just rake in experience, and this is how you get, level up your 6th Army HQ. You really need it. In the alternative history branch, it's not that critical, because you have more missions in the Caucasus, and you have the 1st and the 4th tank armies, and the 11th Army, and the 17th Army, right? So 6th Army does show up. So you have these slightly less involved missions in the north, but it's slightly less important. In all of the other, in the historic branch, the 6th Army is more involved. Obviously, we go to Stalingrad and everything, so it's more critical. And you get more chances of upgrading it. So, unfortunately, in this playthrough of Astrakhan, I did not get to level up my emergency supply ability. And so, emergency supply cost 4. And then even though my HQ had 9 points, I simply could not provide supply to 3 units, and so it was very much struggling around Dubovka, because you just can't get your supply lines there as far as Dubovka, and you have to rely on emergency supply, and and maybe on taking Soviet supply hubs and everything. And what looks like a reasonable failure around Astrakhan right now, so I lost a bunch of divisions there, the Soviets counterattacked, that's kind of inevitable. So they have very strong units, and they will go, just make sure that these Soviet divisions go for Italians, they go for weaker divisions you don't care about. And don't gang up on one of your better divisions. I had only one, as you can see, that really strong tank divisions. That's pretty much what I had. That's my main firepower there. That's my only chance. I actually misused it for 2 turns, because I got in trouble with all those rearguard guys, right? But now those Soviet divisions are not so focused. For example, that T-34 is kind of very exposed, and I'm going to destroy it. I still have some time, so it's turn 5 out of 8. And so out of 8 until Astrakhan. And so, as you can see, by the way, around Dubovka, it's not very well defended also. But the problem with Dubovka is I still have 1 turn here, so I think I decided to wait there. And so there are some attempts by the Soviets to break my connection between Frolovo and Dubovka, and I'm using it to destroy the Soviet tank division. And gradually clearing these Soviet pockets. The defenders around Kletskaya and Lovya, they're kind of passive. So most of the trouble that you'll get in this part of the map will come from the north. So the units in the north are active. These are not very, very active. They're just gonna sit and try and preserve their fortification. I probably wouldn't be completely careless about them, around them, But I suspect it's pretty safe to assume that they are not gonna like try and push and try and destroy you. They'll probably get into like hexes if they're free, yeah, and if it means like really like blocking your supply and everything. But otherwise, no. And here's me taking the enemy supply hub and clearing this whole area, and it's gonna get pretty safe very soon. And I can comfortably start pushing towards the second defensive line, which is already running out of supply, and I'll have to keep forcing it out of supply. And I'll probably keep sending those Italian troops to block the enemy railway lines. Okay, and here's me doing a recon run. Bad luck, did not get it. And I'm already using my my Tiger. Remember that if a unit starts with that full supply, starts a turn with that full supply, even if you're resupplied with emergency supply, air supply, whatever, it will not be able to get any reinforcements, including specialist steps. So leave that, for example, SS Viking division in the hex where it's likely to get her supply at the end of the mission, at the beginning of the turn, so that you can actually provide it with that Tiger step, or whatever division, like whichever is strongest. Because my main division actually already had 2 steps, and I definitely did not have the time to. I was happy with it. Marder plus Stug is a very strong combo. And I was happy with the way it was, and I didn't want to waste time trying to reform it in weird ways. And my Viking division was pretty strong, was the second strongest division, and I realized that, okay, if I give it a Tiger, it's gonna be like absolutely monstrously powerful. And here's like all these Soviet counterattacks from the north. I feel like it's kind of ending. And by the way, here's me actually using all of these divisions that took Afganerovo. You don't need to hold it, thankfully. Actually completely blocking the enemy supply. Obviously, they're gonna die. But you have a bit of silver lining in all of this. You're not gonna see them again. You're not seeing them ever again. Plus, if they block the Soviets even for a couple of turns, and they've already failed, probably, they'd have done their job. They've already distracted the Soviets, they've already kind of weakened them in places, and this is good enough. Because sometimes, like in this mission, and sometimes in a bunch of other missions in Stalingrad, but this is a very glaring example of that, you will, and this is something that the AI has left for me. Like, all of these supply hubs are very easily accessible. There are no defenders there, and I see them immediately. Oh, holy crap, level 5. And so, sometimes you just don't have the time to destroy all these Soviet defenders. And so, yeah, sometimes distracting them and forcing them to go into weird places where they into places where it's not good for them to be in. And by the way, I'm being kind of judicious about taking that supply hub, so I'm trying to give supply to as many troops as possible there. And already touching Astrakhan on turn 6. This is good. This is good progress. Even though I got my supply line cut, it's not that big of a deal. And so I'm gradually pushing and forgetting to remove that level 3 supply hub. That was a big mistake. Actually, another one of my big mistakes that I made, and I'm already seeing that pushing that HQ and removing that supply hub because it's not useful in that one. So I've got crap loads of trucks that I can't use. I can't use them in the Dubovka area. It's just extremely annoying. Like, so my closest supply hub, I don't have any railways here. My closest supply hub is like very far. And yeah, so I'm taking Dubovka. It's time. So the deadline for it is turn 6. And I don't know what I did there with the tank division. And so I'm already building my pontoon bridges, and I think the Soviets will block my access to the other side of the river. It's not going to be on turn 7 that I cross it. I think I'll cross on turn 9. It'll be very, very tight. I won't lie, I actually save-scummed a little bit. I saved on turn 9 because I saw that I didn't have too many troops in the Dubovka area, and I highly recommend you to bring a few infantry divisions into Dubovka. You have a couple of turns before you need to take the surround Stalingrad objectives, so that you have divisions either to hold Dubovka as your tanks push forward, or to maybe like breach through enemy zones of control. Also a good idea, right? So you sometimes need a few bodies there, and like your tanks simply don't provide enough. And so yes, as you can see, I actually managed to breach the enemy defensive line at Nizhny Cher, which is great. But around Stalingrad, yes, I managed to kind of solve the puzzle, so it was a bit difficult, and you will see how it goes. But in my experience, surround Stalingrad is not like a difficult objective on its own. It's just well protected. Around it, there's going to be a good number of Soviet troops. But otherwise, the objective itself, even though as far as I remember, it wasn't a plain. Yeah, it's a town hex. So it's not like very difficult. I didn't find it to be very difficult to take. And as you can see, yeah, I have that strong tank division, and with Stugs, yes, it gets its penalty. And by the way, I'm taking a lot there. And this is actually why you should like block the supply lines to all of these troops defending Ilovlya, Kalach, and everything. Yeah, so that you can breach Ilovlya. And now I can set up a supply hub next to Ilovlya, and which is slightly closer than the supply hub at Serafimovich. It's not much better, but like, well, come on, every little thing counts right now, because the supply efficiency around Dubovka, even where it reaches something, and here's me setting up the closest supply hub possible, it's very low. It's very low, and it's like the most crippling thing about this mission, to be honest. Like, because the north is certainly more difficult than the south. Even though, like, in the south, because of the desert, you get, like, also significant problems with supply. And here's me. I already see that that the Soviets, like, the supply situation for the Soviets is going to improve. So I'm, like, getting all of the windfall. So I'm trying to destroy as many Soviet divisions as I can while they're still not in supply. And by the way, it's turn 7. I hope I'll manage to actually... I know I'll manage to actually push that Romanian division to Astrakhan. It's very close. It's very close. Alright, so I've cleared the railway line. It's secure. It's almost cleared. Now cleared. And let's see. So I've got my Romanian division next to it. So... took some losses from my tank, but now the railway line is certainly secure. They're not going to do anything, so that will not be able to attack or kind of somehow block those hexes. And as you can see, case in point, I pushed my infantry, slightly pushing my infantry into the Dubovka area so that I have some bodies to cover like all the many tasks that I need to deal with. And so I'm losing a bunch of Romanians, but this is another spoiling attack. Don't expect to be able to kind of meaningfully breach any of the defenses around Nizhny Cher, Koselnikovo, all of this, whatever breaches or breakthroughs you achieve in these areas is going to be about distracting enemy tanks, distracting enemy forces, maybe getting some experience, I don't know. But it's not going to be to succeed at the mission, no. Or, like, directly succeed at the mission, take objectives, whatever, improve your supply. No, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you with any of that. Alright, and... it's kind of very, like, right now the situation is kind of very much in the air, but the Soviets obviously are getting weaker. I'm pretty much succeeding. It's Astrakhan. Yes, I'm using all of my... And here's flying artillery, and... Okay. Oh no. And then I send my guys very, very tight. It was not like it was, I think it was 50-50. It wasn't a very high chance of actually breaching through, so please don't lose your German cavalry division. It's better. It has better stats, so much higher chance of forcing the enemy to retreat from Astrakhan. But thankfully Astrakhan is now a ruin, so it's very easy to defend. And here's me actually losing that that cavalry division. Don't lose it, please. Don't lose either of them. So you can actually do it's very likely that you'll be able to do 2 assault crossings. So if you bring both of those cavalry divisions to Astrakhan, you'll be able to do 2 assault crossings. So it's actually a way to maybe suppress the defenders a little more with the first assault crossing if it fails, even though, like, say it says, 30% chance of retreating, and the defenders don't retreat, but then it suppresses a little bit, and the next one is going to give you a high chance of retreating. And so, yeah. So here's me, like, even pushing, like, in a slightly more reckless way. But I just, like, deal as much damage, distract them, blow their, like, destroy their supply, prevent them from doing anything. I certainly don't want any nasty surprises in Dubovka, right? If you, the fewer the troops, like, the lower the number of troops that I need to face in Dubovka, around Dubovka, the fewer counterattackers, the better. And by the way, I haven't yet crossed the river, and I need to surround Stalingrad on, like, next turn. This is, like, the worst situation possible. And I can, like, this point when I was playing this mission, I was thinking, yeah, I have to replay it. I've made a bunch of mistakes. Yeah, I lost my HQ early in the mission. I lost my cavalry divisions. I barely managed to take Astrakhan, and I know how to take Astrakhan. It's not the most difficult part of the mission. So I thought, yeah, I'll have to. So I saved the game. I won't conceal that fact. And then I just tried to, like, revert to the save and try and take surround Stalingrad objective with the troops I had around Dubovka, which it's not nothing, to be honest. Like, let's be frank. I have quite a good number of troops around Dubovka. Unfortunately, most of those troops are out of supply, so I had to take that supply hub. Yes, to resupply my troops. It took me like maybe 5 or 6 tries to actually get to the right solution here, but it was like a really nice puzzle, and I got lucky with my air support also. Because there is also a problem that the AI knows that you really need to hold that Dubovka thing, and it will try and counterattack, and once I took surround Stalingrad, but left a normal German infantry division in Dubovka, and the Soviets managed to kick it out, so it was bad. And yeah, so this time I think I left my strong tank division in there, so they had no chance of actually getting anywhere. And so this is pretty much my successful playthrough. I got a little lucky with surround Stalingrad, and I still pushed my no retreats. And this is how you take Astrakhan. Yes, you keep saves coming until you win. But I think this is on an easier level. Had I been, I should probably try the standalone scenario version. I don't know how good the HQs are. Standalone scenario version, just to see if this approach actually is much easier with a slightly stronger, slightly stronger force. So we'll have to see. And this has gone on for long enough. Thank you for watching, listening. I hope this really helps you. This is certainly one of the most difficult missions in the game. And until next time, cheers!